Hi, this is Simon Upstall and welcome to another tutorial for Apple Motion, and today we're going to be taking a look at this effect. So it looks quite complicated, but it's actually pretty easy to do. So let's take a look. Okay, for this project I'm going with 1920 1080, a frame rate of 24 frames a second and a duration of 20 seconds. So the first thing I want to do is select the rectangle tool and draw out a rectangle roughly like this. Let's center it up. Let's come over to its geometry. We want a width of 1440 and a height of 640. So then we want to come over to style and we want to set the fill mode to gradient, and let's open up the gradient. So I'm going to toss away this tag at the end here. I'm going to click on the top here to create a new opacity tag. I'm going to set that value down to 0 and I'm going to set the location to 3. Then I want to set up these values here. So I want 0 for the X start, 320 for the Y start, 270 for the X end, and negative 2400 for the Y end. So we end up with this slash like this. So then what I want to do is I want to come to filters and distortion and wave. I want to switch to vertical. Then I want an amplitude of 20 and the wavelength of 500, which is as far as it'll go. And then I'm just going to adjust this offset till we're getting something like that. What are we now? 115? Let's go for that. Okay, so this is the basic cell that we're going to make this effect out of. So we are going to come to Object and Replicate. We're going to select a line of the shape and we're going to have an X start point of negative 960, X end of positive 960. And we're going to have 128 points. We're going to turn on 3D. We're going to turn on face camera. And let's come down to the color mode. Let's choose over pattern. Let's choose from the menu here, Dawn Orange. And let's turn on additive blend. And let's set the scale end to negative 75. So then the key to this animation is that we're going to animate the Z angle and the Z angle end. So first of all, I'm going to add a ramp to the Z angle. I'm going to choose, I think, 720 for the start and 960 for the end. And then I'm going to come back over and we want to, as I say, animate the angle end as well. So to the Z, let's add another ramp. And in this case, let's have a start value of negative 960 and an end of negative 720. And you can see how we're getting this really nice spiral effect. Very simply achieved. So then what we're going to do is we're going to make this look a little bit nicer by adding to this replicator a glow and neon. So we want, for the outer brightness 2, for the outer glow we want 240, for the inner brightness we want 1, and for the inner glow we want 3, and let's just crank up that edge intensity to 15. You can see that's really given us something rather nice like that. So what we're going to do is then add filters, distortion and a refraction. We're going to have softness of 0.65 and a refraction value of 200, which is as far as it'll go. And you can see that's giving us this nice glassy effect. And if we just disable that neon, you can see how much work that's doing. That's going before the refraction, and that's allowing the refraction to do some really interesting things. So now we've got something that looks like this. I just want to point out that if we come back to our neon and we set the inner brightness down to 0, we get this really interesting effect. Very dramatic and moody, very different. And I actually rather like that, but let's not do that for this. Let's just stick with 1 for that inner brightness. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add a camera. So camera, switch to 3D, and we are going to come over to its properties, position, And we're going to add a ramp behavior to the X, and we're going to have a start value of, I think, 1450, I decided. So we're coming from over here, and let's select the Z and add a ramp behavior to that as well. In this case, let's start at negative 1000 and let's end at 200. So we've pushed right in like that, and it kind of looks rather nice, I think. So then we're getting this. All quite fancy. Another thing we could do is just add a little bit of a sweep to that camera. So let's go for negative 30 for the start and stick with 30 for the end. That's just going to give us a little bit more sort of sense of depth. And that is more or less it. Do make sure, however, to come over to the library generators, color solid, drag that into a new group behind everything else, make this group 2D. And for this color, let's go for red, but very dark. Let's come down to here. So do want to point out that, of course, you can pick any of these gradients for the color and it will give a very different effect. So that's Murano, quite fancy. Let's come back to our Dawn Orange. And I just want to point out that I actually left some color in that gradient for the rectangle. So if I select that color, and we maybe increase that blue just a little bit, you can see that actually gives quite a nice result. I sort of like it around about there, but it's really up to you for what you want to do with the colours. So there you go, very simple effect that looks far more complex than it actually is. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.